Across the 27 worlds we had previously conquered, we'd observed consistent patterns of response to overwhelming force: denial, panic, disorganization, and ultimately, submission. These reactions transcended biological makeup, planetary origin, and technological advancement. From the crystalline hive minds of Proxima Centauri to the gaseous collectives of the Horsehead Nebula, all sentient species followed predictable emotional trajectories when faced with superior power. Or so we believed. My name is Zorbin Qalax, senior war historian for the Galactic Confluence, and I am recording this analysis for posterity, and as a warning to any other civilization foolish enough to provoke the inhabitants of the small blue planet in System 7293b, known to its natives as Earth. Our species, the Kreth, has dominated 16 solar systems across 3 galactic arms. We have subjugated the silicon-based Vorn, neutralized the collective consciousness of the Meep cloud, and even established a reluctant alliance with the notoriously diplomatic Ulgarians. In all cases, our superior technology and methodical approach to conquest has prevailed. The formula was elegant in its simplicity: arrive with overwhelming force, demonstrate destructive capabilities on uninhabited areas, eliminate symbolic structures, reduce population centers selectively, and accept surrender within standard time parameters. Our military historians had cataloged 294 successful planetary subjugations using variations of this approach, with an average conflict duration of 3.7 local planetary rotations, that we expected Earth to be no different. Our preliminary assessment classified humans as a Type 0.7 civilization, technologically advanced enough to harness their planet's resources and achieve limited space travel, but centuries away from representing any meaningful threat to a Type 2 civilization like ours. Intelligence Officer Mock's pre-invasion briefing was dismissive. Humans possess approximately 14,000 nuclear weapons, primitive directed energy capabilities, and rudimentary space defense systems. Their military forces are divided into nation-state factions with limited unified command structure. Projected resistance time, 8 hours maximum. Until Earth. Begin the standard intimidation protocol. Fleet Commander Drazix ordered as our armada of 17 warships entered Earth's atmosphere on what humans call a Tuesday morning. The flagship Inevitable Dominance led our formation, its quantum displacement engines barely straining against Earth's gravity. Target uninhabited areas first. Let them witness our power before negotiations. Drazix stood on the command platform, his exoskeleton gleaming under the blue spectrum lighting that mimicked our home world's twin suns. His reputation for efficient conquests had earned him the honorific, the Merciful. Not because he spared enemies, but because he made their defeats swift. I remember checking my chronometer as I recorded the official invasion log. It was precisely 8:42 Earth Standard Time. The date, according to human calendars, was April 14th. Our initial strike obliterated 3 uninhabited islands in what humans call the Pacific Ocean. The quantum disintegration beams reduced volcanic rock to subatomic particles in seconds. The energy displacement was considerable, enough to generate tsunamis that would reach distant shores within hours. Sensors measured human communications spiking 7,000% within moments as their primitive detection systems registered the unprecedented energy release. "Excellent," said Drazix, his 3 upper eyes blinking in sequence, a gesture of satisfaction among our kind. His lower eye remained fixed on the tactical display, where human aircraft were scrambling from bases across their planet. Their primitive aircraft are deploying. Predictable but pointless. Tactical Officer Grizz spoke without looking up from his station. At 14:32, we received another transmission. This one was different. A collective message from what appeared to be representatives of every major human nation, standing together. "We will not speak with your commanders," the human at the center said. She was an elderly female with dark skin and white hair. "They have proven themselves unworthy of dialogue. Instead, we address your entire species. Your attack on Earth will fail, not because we are stronger or more advanced, but because you have made a critical error in judgment. You believe conquest is a mathematical equation, that superior technology equals assured victory. But war, to humans, is not just a physical contest. It is a crucible that has defined our species. We have fought ourselves far more brutally than you have fought us today. Another human stepped forward, a male with East Asian features. What you don't understand is that humans do not respond to existential threats the way other species might. We don't become paralyzed by fear. Fear focuses us. Terror unites us. Rage. He paused. Rage inspires us. A third human spoke, this one younger than the others. In the 5 hours since you arrived, human scientists and engineers across the planet have been sharing data, testing theories, and developing countermeasures. The weapons that are now disabling your vessels did not exist this morning. Commander Drazix ordered the transmission cut. This is psychological warfare. Nothing more. Atmospheric interceptors detected, Commander. 27 squadrons launching from various hemispheric positions. Estimated contact in 12 minutes. Ignore them. Drazix replied with a dismissive flick of his tertiary appendage. Their weapons cannot penetrate our outer defensive fields. He turned to communications, Officer Plaxel. Are they broadcasting on emergency channels yet? Yes, Commander. Global communications have increased by orders of magnitude. Their news networks are reporting unprecedented attacks and possible extraterrestrial contact. Government channels are active but encrypted. Now, for Phase 2, Drazix announced, mandibles clicking with anticipation. Target their symbolic structures. Nothing with significant human presence yet. Let them understand the precision of our capabilities. At 9:17, precision energy beams sliced through monuments in 7 major cities across Earth. The tall pointed structure in Paris collapsed in a shower of metal and sparks. The bridge with red supports in San Francisco split cleanly in two, its severed halves plunging into the bay below. The Opera House with shell-like protrusions in Sydney melted like ice under a heat lamp. Similar fates befell iconic structures in Cairo, Rio de Janeiro, Moscow, and Beijing, all precisely targeted, all destroyed within the same minute. Our sensors detected human atmospheric craft attempting to approach our vessels, only to be neutralized by our automated defense systems. Not destroyed, merely rendered inoperative and allowed to glide back to Earth's surface. Commander Drazix insisted on this mercy. No need to kill pilots who pose no threat, he noted. It demonstrates both our power and our restraint. The human internet, their global information network, erupted with imagery of our attacks. Their social communication platforms overloaded with activity. Some humans posted final messages to loved ones. Others claimed we were a hoax or a secret weapon deployed by rival nations. Many simply shared symbols of their various religions. In the command center, we observed all of this with clinical detachment. The psychobehavioral analysis team cataloged human responses, comparing them to historical patterns from previous conquests. Fascinating divergence, noted junior analyst Thix. Many humans are expressing defiance rather than just fear. Approximately 22% of communications include threats or declarations of resistance. Meaningless bravado. Weapons Officer Kreth dismissed. Every species threatens when first contacted. It's instinctual. Drazix received the first formal communication from Earth at 9:44. Unidentified vessels. This is General Thomas Jackson of the United Nations Defense Coalition. You have committed an act of war against the sovereign nations of Earth. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. The message arrived via electromagnetic transmission, broadcast on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Accompanying, it was a visual feed showing a stern-faced human male with darkened skin and facial fur above his mouth. He wore a uniform adorned with small metallic symbols. Rank indicators, we later learned. The command center erupted in what humans might call laughter, though our version involves rapid air expulsion through dorsal vents. Several officers collapsed their secondary respiratory sacs in amusement. How quaint, Communications Officer Plaxel remarked, her voice synthesizer modulating to indicate derision. They think they can threaten us. Their most advanced weapons couldn't penetrate our basic shielding. Analysis confirms their nuclear delivery systems are primitive fusion-based detonation devices with minimal penetration capabilities. Their aircraft carriers are mobilizing, Tactical Officer Grizz noted with something approaching boredom. Missile defense systems activating worldwide. Ground forces deploying from bases. All precisely as predicted by behavioral models. Several smaller nations were already sending unauthorized transmission attempts directly to our vessels. These were automatically cataloged and ignored. Standard protocol dictated communication only with primary military or governmental authorities. Drazix curved his feeding appendage into what serves as our smile. Send them footage of our conquest of Rigeline. Show them what happened to the last civilization that resisted. Include the time compression sequence of their major cities being systematically reduced to base elements. Transmission sent, Commander, Plaxel confirmed. I have included translation matrices to ensure they understand the scale of what they are witnessing. Human response came 17 minutes later. It was not from General Jackson, but from a different human. The delay itself was notable, significantly shorter than our behavior models had predicted for processing such devastating information. This is Dr. Amanda Wong, lead xenolinguist for the United Earth Response Team. The transmission showed a small human female with facial features indicating East Asian genetic heritage. Her voice was calm, measured, devoid of the panic our behavioral models predicted. We have studied your transmission. We understand you consider yourselves conquerors. Your footage of Rigel 9 was meant to terrify us into submission. What it has done instead is provide us valuable data about your methodologies and capabilities. She paused, her eyes looking directly into the transmission device as if she could see us. We have a long history with conquerors on Earth. Some succeeded temporarily. None survived long-term. I strongly suggest you reconsider your position while that option remains available to you. The transmission ended abruptly. Analyze that response. Drazix ordered his upper left eye narrowing. Our species' indication of concern. Unusual confidence markers in vocal patterns. Communications Officer Plaxel reported. Typically, this stage produces trembling vocals, elevated speech patterns, and erratic emotional displays. This human displayed none of these. They are stalling, strategic analyst Vox noted, dismissing the anomaly. Their planetary defense systems are mobilizing. Primitive nuclear weapons and particle accelerators. Nothing concerning. He manipulated the holographic display to show human military movements. Standard defensive protocols. They are consolidating forces around population centers and strategic assets. Exactly as anticipated, military psychologist Zen tapped her data tablet thoughtfully. The response time concerns me. Our behavioral models predicted at least 40 minutes for their leadership to process our Rigel 9 demonstration and formulate a response. They did so in 17. Their communications technology is perhaps more efficient than our intelligence suggested, Drazix said dismissively. It changes nothing. Proceed to Phase 3, he commanded. Selective population reduction. At 10:23, our vessels deployed atmospheric disruptors over 3 mid-sized cities, Osaka, Melbourne, and Toronto. The deployment was preceded by a targeting sequence that took exactly 32 seconds. Enough time for human detection systems to register our repositioning, but insufficient for evacuation protocols to activate effectively. The technology creates a localized condition in which oxygen molecules become temporarily inert through quantum state manipulation. The effect lasts only 7 minutes, but that's sufficient to render organic life unconscious or deceased, depending on their physiology. We calibrated the effect radius precisely to encompass central urban areas while avoiding hospitals and essential infrastructure. Standard procedure to preserve resources worth claiming after conquest. Our sensors recorded the results with clinical precision. Vehicles stopped in streets. Pedestrians collapsed mid-stride. Birds fell from the sky like rain. The technology is silent, invisible, death coming without sound or warning. One moment life, the next stillness. The death toll was approximately 47,000 humans. Population centers neutralized. Weapons Officer Kreth reported. Minimal structural damage as specified. Excellent, Drazix nodded. Their response should shift to survival preservation now. Previous conquest models indicate a 92% probability that formal surrender negotiations will begin within 30 minutes. On the observation screens, we monitored human news networks. Reporters were openly weeping as they broadcast footage from the affected cities. Emergency vehicles with flashing lights converged on downtown areas. Humans wearing protective suits entered the zones where the atmospheric effect had already dissipated, only to find nothing to treat but corpses. The next transmission came from yet another human, the third different representative in as many communications. This pattern itself was anomalous. Most species designated a single authority figure to handle crisis communications. The human approach seemed chaotic, unstructured. This is President Sofia Rodriguez of the American Continental Alliance. The human female had darker skin coloration and black fur on her head. Unlike the previous communicators, she wore no specialized garment, merely what appeared to be standard civilian attire. Most notable was her facial expression, containing none of the fear or panic our models predicted, but rather a cold intensity that even our xenopsychologists found difficult to categorize. You have murdered tens of thousands of innocent civilians. Men, women, children, people who posed no threat to you, who had no quarrel with your kind, who didn't even know of your existence until today. She paused, her voice dropping to a lower register. I speak now with the full authority granted to me by the unanimous consent of all Earth nations. There will be no negotiations. There will be no surrender. There will be only our response. Her eyes narrowed, and when she spoke again, each word seemed carved from ice. May whatever gods you worship have mercy on you, because we will not. The transmission ended. Such emotional creatures, Drazix remarked, though I noted a subtle shift in his posture, the slightest tension in his primary appendages. It clouds their judgment. Their emotional display confirms they have no coherent defensive strategy. Military psychologist Zen made a notation on her datapad. Commander, I'm registering concern about these communications. This isn't standard fear response rhetoric. The human language contains specific markers that your concerns are noted, psychologist Drazix interrupted. But the invasion proceeds according to established protocols. Their emotions are irrelevant to the outcome. At 11:08, Earth launched its first coordinated counterattack. Intercontinental ballistic missiles, 214 of them, streaked toward our fleet from submarine platforms, hardened silos, and mobile launchers across 6 continents. The simultaneous launch represented an unexpected level of coordination among Earth's fractious nation-states. Alert signals flashed across tactical displays as the missiles approached. Our defense systems activated automatically, targeting the incoming projectiles with subspace field generators that engulfed each nuclear warhead in a quantum bubble. The chain reactions that would have released destructive energy were converted into harmless light displays, brilliant flashes of blue and green that rippled across Earth's upper atmosphere. Predictable, weapons officer Kreth said, not bothering to hide his boredom as he monitored the neutralization process. The most powerful weapons are barely adequate to power our waste recycling systems. Fusion technology at least a century behind minimum interstellar standards. Note the launch synchronization, Tactical Officer Grizz observed. Unusually coordinated for a non-unified planetary government. Desperation accelerates cooperation, Drazix replied. We have seen this temporary phenomenon before. The human news networks were broadcasting continuously. We monitored them all through our signal interception array. Some reporters were crying. Others spoke with shaking voices, struggling to maintain professional composure. Many humans were fleeing cities in ground vehicles, creating massive congestion on their primitive transportation networks. Others were gathering in religious buildings, seeking comfort in their various mythological systems. Some were simply embracing each other in what appeared to be final farewells. Throughout it all, our sensors detected an extraordinary surge in their digital communications. Data transfers occurring at unprecedented rates between research facilities, military installations, and government centers. They have accepted defeat, Drazix concluded, observing the evacuation footage. Excellent. Prepare the surrender terms. Standard Class 3 Planetary Integration Protocols. He turned to Administrative Officer Jeff. Begin drafting resource allocation schedules and native population management directives. Military psychologist Zen, however, frowned, pressing her sensory tentacles together in concern. Commander, I'm noting something unusual in the human behavior patterns. Explain, Drazix said, mandibles clicking impatiently. In every previous conquest, we have observed panic, despair, disorganization, and ultimately submission. The humans display the first two in abundance, but she paused, studying her data screens, scrolling through behavioral analysis charts with growing concern. They're not disorganizing. They are coalescing. Impossible. Drazix dismissed. No species maintains social cohesion under this level of stress. Your instruments must be malfunctioning. Nevertheless, Zen insisted, her outer membrane pulsing with conviction. Communications between human nations have increased fivefold in the last hour. Military channels are extraordinarily active, and civilian behavior is shifting from flight to something else. She highlighted footage showing humans forming organized groups, distributing supplies, and establishing impromptu command centers in evacuation zones. They're not just running away anymore, she explained. They're organizing, adapting, responding. At 12:37, we detected unusual energy signatures from various points on Earth, patterns that matched known human technology in our databases. What are they doing? Drazix demanded, his irritation giving way to the first hints of genuine concern. Holographic displays across the command center illuminated with pulsing red indicators as our sensors detected power surges in unexpected locations, abandoned mines, underwater facilities, remote mountain regions, and ordinary suburban neighborhoods. Unknown, Commander, Science Officer Qalax admitted, his specialized analytical appendages working frantically across multiple data interfaces. They appear to be repurposing civilian infrastructure for, we are not certain what. These energy signatures don't match any known human military or scientific installation. They are activating dormant systems, suggested junior analyst Thix, or perhaps bringing experimental technologies online. Whatever it is, they have managed to shield most of these locations from our standard scanning protocols, Qalax added. We are only detecting them now because of the unusual energy emissions. Drazix's exoskeleton creaked as he leaned forward, studying the proliferating red indicators with mounting concern. A moment of silence filled the command center before he straightened, his professional demeanor reasserting itself. It doesn't matter, Drazix declared, though his secondary breathing sacs pulsed rapidly, a sign of stress in our species. Their technological adjustments, whatever they may be, cannot possibly counter our capabilities within the time frame of this conflict. Proceed to Phase 4. Decapitation strikes on military and governmental centers. At 13:05, our fleet repositioned into Attack Formation Alpha, a dispersed hexagonal pattern designed to maximize coverage while maintaining defensive integrity. On Drazix's command, quantum disintegration beams targeted major military installations and government buildings across Earth. Washington, Moscow, Beijing, Brussels, New Delhi, all struck simultaneously with precision energy weapons calibrated to reduce reinforced structures to their component atoms in seconds. The tactical display showed successful target acquisition and energy discharge. Confirmation of structural destruction began flowing in as our sensors assessed the damage. Only, many of the buildings were empty. Where are their leaders? Drazix demanded, his voice rising to a pitch I had never before heard from our normally composed commander. Dispersed, Intelligence Officer Mock reported, surprise evident in her voice as she reviewed incoming sensor data. They appear to have implemented some kind of contingency protocol we weren't aware of. Leadership has been distributed across thousands of locations. We can't target them effectively. Impossible, Drazix said. Our intelligence indicated no such capability. Their governments are hierarchical, centralized. They require physical command centers. Evidently not, Commander, Mock replied, her professional composure strained by confusion. It appears they have established a distributed command structure using their global communications network. Decision-making is occurring across multiple redundant systems. Even with our complete sensor coverage, we are detecting only fragments of their command operations. At 13:42, something unexpected happened. Our secondary command vessel, the Harbinger, reported shield fluctuations. Commander, Communications Officer Plaxel interrupted, her voice modulator pitched with urgency. The Harbinger is reporting anomalies in their defensive barrier matrix. Shield efficiency has decreased by 12% in localized sections. The main view screen immediately shifted to display the Harbinger. our most advanced tactical support vessel. Visual sensors showed no apparent damage, but the shield visualization overlay revealed irregular patterns forming across its protective energy field. Ripples of instability where previously there had been only perfect coherence. Impossible, Drazek stated, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. Their weapons cannot affect our shields. Our barrier technology utilizes 11-dimensional quantum folding. Their understanding of physics doesn't even encompass 5 dimensions. More alerts sounded as technicians across the command center registered similar anomalies affecting other vessels in our fleet. It's not just the Harbinger, Commander, Tactical Officer Grizz reported. Multiple vessels now showing shield instabilities. Pattern is intensifying and spreading. But it wasn't a weapon, at least not in the conventional sense. The humans had somehow reprogrammed their global communications network to emit precisely calibrated energy pulses that created a resonance effect in our shielding matrix. Thousands of transmission towers, satellites, and underwater cables were now operating in perfect synchronization, each emitting a slightly different frequency that together created a complex interference pattern precisely targeted at our defensive systems. WY-1410, 3 of our support vessels had lost shield integrity completely. Their defensive barriers collapsed with a visible flash of energy, leaving them vulnerable to conventional attacks. Alarms wailed across the command center as damage reports began flowing in. How? Drazek demanded, abandoning his command posture to lean over the central tactical display, his appendages trembling with a mixture of rage and disbelief. How do they identify the resonant frequency of our shields? That information is encrypted in quantum-locked databases. Even if they captured one of our vessels intact, it would take years to decode. Science Officer Qalax had been frantically analyzing the human transmission patterns, his specialized neural implants processing data at speeds even other Kreth found impressive. His feeding tentacles had gone pale, a physiological indication of extreme distress in our species. They didn't. Qalax realized, horror spreading across his features as the implications became clear. They are bombarding us with every possible frequency, analyzing our responses, and adapting in real time. They started with broad-spectrum emissions and narrowed the parameters based on observed effects. It's like they have turned their entire planet into a weapons development laboratory. Qalax manipulated the holographic data display, highlighting thousands of transmission sources, simultaneously adjusting their output parameters. Look at the adaptation rate. They are refining their approach every 2.7 seconds. The level of computational processing required for this, it's beyond anything we thought them capable of. At 1447, we lost the first vessel, the Sungrazer, not to conventional weapons, but to a swarm of what appeared to be repurposed Earth satellites modified to emit focused electromagnetic pulses. Earth's militaries had adapted their conventional weapons as well, creating synchronized detonation patterns that exploited the gaps in our weakened shields. Military psychologist Zen studied human communications with increasing concern. "Commander," she finally said, "I believe I understand now. The humans were not angry before. They were afraid, yes. Desperate, certainly. But what we are seeing now, this is different. In our species, and in every other species we have encountered, emotional responses follow a predictable pattern. Fear leads to submission when the threat is overwhelming. But humans," she paused, "humans experience what they call cold rage when pushed beyond certain thresholds. Their scientists are not working despite their emotions. They are working because of them. At 1503, our flagship's propulsion system failed. By 1517, Earth's weapons were no longer targeting our systems. They were targeting our crews. They have identified our biological signatures," Science Officer Qalax reported, genuine fear in his voice. "They are calibrating radiation weapons specifically to our genetic structure." At 1529, Drazek gave the order to retreat, but it was too late. Earth had positioned its lunar defense platforms to cut off our exit trajectory. At T-1542, we received the final transmission from Earth. The human captain's face filled our screens with a cold, steady gaze more disturbing than any display of aggression. "This is Captain Sofia Alvarez of the United Earth Defense Force. Your invasion is over." You have 30 minutes to surrender and face judgment under interstellar law or be destroyed. Drazix, for the first time in his distinguished career, looked utterly defeated. How did we miscalculate so severely? Zen's answer haunts me to this day. We didn't understand that human anger doesn't cloud their thinking, it clarifies it. We interpreted their initial fear as weakness, not recognizing it was merely the precursor to something far more dangerous. Commander Drazix surrendered at 1612 Earth Standard Time. The war with Earth lasted 6 hours. It took humans 5 to get truly angry. The 6th hour was merely formality that I record this from a rehabilitation center in New Zealand. The terms of our surrender were surprisingly merciful. No executions or torture, just containment and study. The humans want to understand us as thoroughly as we failed to understand them. Yesterday, I spoke with Dr. Wong. I asked how humans had accomplished the impossible, adapting technologies overnight that should have taken years to develop. She smiled with an edge that made my outer membrane contract. Necessity is the mother of invention, she said, but rage is its father. I've spent months studying human history since then. Their planet story is essentially a chronicle of conflicts punctuated by remarkable periods of cooperation that produce their greatest achievements. What terrifies me most is that humans don't need invasion to unify them permanently. They don't need a common enemy. They are perfectly capable of reaching that state on their own. In their own time, my final recommendation to the Galactic Confluence is simple. Avoid Earth at all costs. Not because humans are unbeatable, though that may well be true, but because their victory over us was not a culmination. It was a beginning. The humans have an apt saying, the most dangerous place in the universe is between a human and their survival. I would only add, the most dangerous place in the universe is anywhere near humans once they have had time to get angry. Addendum. 6 months after filing my report, the humans have invited representatives from the Kreth to join a newly formed Interstellar Diplomatic Corps. When I asked Captain Alvarez, now Admiral Alvarez, why they would trust members of a species that had attempted to conquer them, her answer was characteristically human, because the best diplomat is one who truly understands the cost of failed negotiations. They are looking outward now, with purpose and unity. We did not just lose a war. We awakened a giant.